I know you guys are expecting a tactical episode, taking a breather from that, you know, change pace, change it up a little bit, can't hurt. So this week I want to talk to you about old school gear, specifically the hardware. It was pointed out to me that a lot of the old school stuff is just being forgotten. That's not really the case, I don't think, because as long as Matt Carter Brown is around, they're going to know what the Nova was and how absolutely silly that was. So no, it's not being forgotten. I think it's just more or less being ignored. A lot of people think that old school gear is like, oh, what, 2005? No, we got to go way further back than that. And that's why I'm down here in the poor lighting of the sub-level to the Arsenal. Yeah, we'll go with that. And I'm going to open up some of my gear bags and show you guys what some of the old school stuff actually was. So with that in mind, what I'm showing you guys this week is this, but in order to understand this, I got to go back at least one generation. I got to go back to this right over here. This is a Piranha long barrel made by Benjamin-Sheridan. This one is circa 1988, 89, somewhere around there. That sounds about right. This is a workhorse. If you were a tournament player and you were serious, you had one of these in your gear bag. Either this or you had the Bushmaster in your gear bag. One or the other. And this is still solid to this day. It is one big chunk of brass. So when you hear a bunch of the old timers talking about getting brass, this is what they're talking about. Now this is the latest, well not the latest, but one of the later generations of the Sheridan line. Because you've got the Piranha long barrel, Piranha short barrel, the PMI1, PMI2, KP series, the PGP, Magnum 68. They made a lot of different variations on the theme, but they all were kind of the same internally. They made some mild changes between generations. Most of it was the actual body itself. If you're familiar with the Spider, you know how this operates. It's got the lower hammer and assembly down here. It's got the upper big long bolt right up here. The only difference is this one pumps and it shoots. So let's go over what the features of this particular thing are. First of all, brass barrel that is on there. This ain't coming off, it's fixed, which would cause a lot of you kids to go screaming for the hills right now. Oh, I can't change the barrel out. Well, we just dealt with it. I'm just saying. Direct feed, which a direct feed from the factory. Thank you. At the time, it was just, you were always worried if the weld would hold on your homemade one, and I've actually had mine snap off at a big game. So. Yeah, not fun. ASA on the back. Again, another thing that was added on a little later on. Originally, they were shot with 12 grams. You take the 12 gram and put it into here. They had a big knob on here that you'd unscrew, put the new 12 gram in. This one had an ASA on the back, so you take your 7-ounce tank and you put it on the back over here. And the hardcore guys, they use a 10-ounce tank with that big garden valve in order to open and close it. A bunch of the old timers know what I'm talking about. And when I say garden valve, I'm not like making up a product name. It looks like a big garden valve. Really big stuff. Now this one's been modified over the years to make it still playable today. It's got the quick strip bolt on the back, because in order to take the bolt off, originally you had to disassemble the arm, put it this way, unscrew this, and then you could pull the bolt out. Maybe. And that's if you could refine the ball bearings and the spring that were in there to hold the bolt in place. And the other thing is it's got a velocity adjuster right on the ASA, right over here. And the velocity adjuster, yeah, it's very convenient. What you used to have to do is, okay, I'm shooting one over the chronograph range. Oh, it's shooting 250 and I want to get it to shoot a little more. Okay, get out the screwdriver, remove this, take the ASA out, get some paper towel. You stuff some paper towel inside of the block of the ASA over here so that the spring has a little more tension on it. Put the whole thing back together and then start shooting again and hope that it holds at least for the day. Now some guys use washers and some guys use ball bearings, but for the most part, yeah, it was what you could find at the field, and the field had lots of paper towel. Anybody that says the old school was better, rose-colored glasses. That's all I'm going to say. Like I said, this was a workhorse. You could dump this in the mud. You could dunk it underwater. You could run over it with a tank damn near, and it would always keep shooting, just come up and firing. So that's why it was the tournament gun of choice. This and the Bushmaster. The only disadvantage to this is there's no auto trigger. If I hold the trigger down like this, it doesn't actually engage. You have to actually keep your finger off the trigger and shoot it. And they did make some aftermarket kits. You take the safety off of here, and there was a toggle that went right along here that would act as a fake auto trigger that would basically push your finger forward and fake it. Not the best way to get any high rates of fire going. Some guys could do it. And actually I know a lot of guys who could get the timing down and really hammer on these things. But there weren't really speed demons as far as speed shooting these days. What you guys would call slow speed, we would call... Keep in mind, the first full automatic paintball guns were banned because 9 balls per second was just too much. So, it brings us to where the other monstrosity comes from. Glenn Palmer is a gunsmith. He's somebody who tinkers, one of those guys. Way back in the 80s, when if you couldn't find a part for it, you would just make one, you know, the oil can loaders and all that other stuff. So Glenn Palmer figured, well, all these young guys are just outrunning me on the field and I can't keep up with them. I'm gonna outshoot them. So he invented this. This is a stroker. This is a semi-automatic paintball marker, mechanical. Now, if you're looking at the similarities, yeah, the lineage is pretty direct, because what he would do is he'd take this and modify it into a semi-automatic paintball marker. Now, how would he do that? First of all, nickel plating, that's just cosmetic. He would rifle the barrel out usually, which some people say is more accurate. I found it just made it a heck of a lot quieter, very handy stuff. He left one of the pump arms on here, and that makes it look like a pump gun, which is always really fun when you get to the chronograph range and the first thing the referee does is try to pump it, which has happened to me more than once. But the real beauty of this, the honest beauty, is where he hid all the mechanical parts. This right here is the ram. If you're familiar with autocockers, you know how it's got all that stuff hanging off the front. Everything in here is hidden. So the three-way is inside of here, the ram is right up here, and it's very elegant. His solutions are very, very elegant. And you adjust it through right up in here. That's to adjust the pressure, if I remember correctly. Somebody's going to correct me down below, I understand that. The velocity is adjusted right through here. Now, he's made these in several different variations, very similar to the Piranha series. This one actually had a center bottle right here. I didn't like that, so I had to put to a bottom line, to an old school drop forward. Let's see if I can show you guys on camera. Yeah, there you go, an old Shock Tech drop forward. That's old school right there. But everything else is pretty much the same as the Piranha long barrel, as far as that goes. Now, as far as durability and how well it shoots and all that, well, again, we go back to this and why I went through a lot of time explaining this. This was a workhorse. This is doubly so. This right over here just keeps going. I got this in 1993, and I would walk onto the field against anybody with this, and I would take them on while I have this. Bring it on, guys. Seriously, this thing is just a workhorse. You could drop it in the mud, you could run over it with a tank, all that other stuff. It will just keep on working. Rate of fire. Well, a lot of people say that the rate of fire is really slow, and I'm going to try to show you this right here. It's got a really long trigger pull, and you have to go all the way back, all the way forward every time you pull that trigger. So a lot of people would say, oh, it doesn't have that feather-like trigger for really fast shooting. You didn't need it, because it would just consistently keep on shooting paint over and over and over again. The fixed barrel, actually, this might be a bias on my behalf, and I have no scientific backup for this, but I think this is pretty much a lot more accurate because the barrel is fixed, because you can predict where the ball is going to go. The barrel doesn't shift or move or anything, you just keep shooting. And that being said, yes, a lot of the normal guns these days have really good accuracy too, but I think the fixed barrel actually kind of helps as far as that goes. To clean it out, quick strip off the back of it, it's now completely, you just run a squeegee right through that. Actually, the funny part of this is that when you got the thing, it came with about a 4-page instruction manual. And I believe his instructions for cleaning one of these things is to put it in the dishwasher. Seriously, just throw it in the dishwasher with the dishes. You get it out when it's done. You oil up the O-rings. Put some oil down in here. Fire through it a couple times. Clean out the barrel. Go play. It's a workhorse. It just keeps going and going and going. Someone's gonna make a comment about that in the end. I don't even care anymore. So let's see. So like I said, rate of fire is pretty much as fast as you can pull the trigger, and I've never had a problem, honestly. And let's see, durability, covered all that stuff. So yeah, I pretty much covered everything with this piece of equipment. Now, as far as finding one of these things, good luck. Now, the problem is that these were converted these. And most of the guys who still have these are holding on to them now because they understand that they're not making anymore. So they're not sending them in for conversion. And people who own one of these things, they very rarely give them up because they know how well they work. So they don't go on, you don't see them on auction sites very often, you don't see them go anywhere very often. That being said, if you really want something that's like this, they're now making a gun that's called the, the Blazer. The Blazer. And the Blazer is basically this, but their own version of it. Built from the ground up, removable barrel, and a bunch of the other niceties of modern guns. And I've heard people talk about this as being the warthog of paintball guns, and that's actually a pretty apt description because it's rough, it's tough, and it'll just mow through anything that you put in front of it as long as you've got somebody behind it who knows what they're doing. So I would, if you want to get something that's very good quality, that's kind of like this, the Blazer, I would recommend that. Now, if you can find one of these things, if you can find one, good luck. And if you can get it, get one. These things are living history, and they are really, really cool. And like I said, I got this around '93 or so, and this is in the lower 800s as far as serial numbers go from Palmer's. I have no idea how many exist out there today. There's going to be somebody who actually knows that, so feel free to comment down below if you know that information. But you're not going to see very many of these. This is actually kind of a throwback to the way old days, where if you couldn't find something, you built one. And I'm not going to indulge an argument here about which was better, which came first, the autococker or the stroker. I'm ill prepared to make that argument on either side, and that's not mine to make. I'm going to let the elitists do that because they're going to argue one way or the other. It's been 20 years, guys. Let it go at this point. So yeah, we'll just open that up for debate. Now, one other thing I would like to invite people to do, if you're an old timer or you know somebody who's an old timer, grab a video camera. I want to see more videos like this. I want to see some more of the living history of paintball shown to the kids these days. If somebody has one of the original Bushmasters, please make a video about it. I want to see all this stuff because there is a museum out there, but not a lot of people can get to it. This is the museum, guys, right here on YouTube. Let's be curators. So there you guys go. A quick explanation of some of the old school stuff. If you guys like this, I got a couple other things I can pull out of the arsenal. Not much anymore. I got rid of most of it. But if you guys like this, I also know somebody who is a collector, come to think of it, and he can probably open up his collection to me if I ask him very, very nicely. So yeah, so there you guys go. If you like it, let me know. I will do more videos like this, and we'll see you guys next week.